Hi, I'm Dan from HValley Tools, and today we're going to be showing you the universal router subbase. So, what do you get out of the box? Pretty much what's on here on the table. So we have two handles that you can use for stability, guide bushings, some self-centering pins, an aluminum plate that actually attaches to the router, and then a clear acrylic plate that you can actually look and see your work while you're working on it. So, main advantage of using a universal base plate like this is typically, especially with palm routers, but with any routers really, the footprint of the base is not very large, especially when you're doing edge routing. If you're doing a profile on the side and you don't feel comfortable with your fingers right around the base, right where the spinning bit is, you know, you're down on the workpiece, your face is right near it, it can get a little uncomfortable, especially with that bit spinning really fast. So the advantage is you now have a much wider surface area to ride along the wood. It prevents tipping, especially with edge routing, and you also are able to hold it with two hands and have a firm grip on the entire router. The other thing that's nice is, so for example with this router, this base plate just has a circle for the bit to go through. There's no spot in here for a bushing to go. So if you were trying to pattern out a sign or a mortise, this is something that can go on either side of the base plate so that you can center it and then ride your profile on this little bushing. But this doesn't have that. So it's kind of annoying to have to do that. If you've ever had to do it without that before, you've had to create your own plate. You've had to either take some scrap around the shop, a piece of MDF, something like that. But even in those situations, now you can't even see the bit because they're not clear. So that's what adding this clear plate to it, it gives you a big advantage. The other nice thing about this is when you had to make your own plate, you had to line up every single hole pretty much exactly, countersink them, make sure that they're underneath the surface so you're not riding on the screws. What's nice about this is it has these three little fins that move around to pretty much adjust to any hole pattern that your router has. And because you have four of them, one fixed and then three that are movable, you're always going to be able to hit every screw and really secure it to the bottom of the router. So I'm going to go over how does this fit on something like this. So the first thing is we need to remove this plate. So we've removed the plate that it came with. To go through this, first step is to take the plate, have your handles on there. Handles will be facing up because this router's upside down. And you're going to look to see where this goes and take the screws that fit into this groove and find a spot in the router where that screw could live. Once that screw is down there, you can see there's still a lot of play and it's not centered around where the bit is. Because this router can fit anything from 6 3/4 inch bases to 8 1/4. So if you had a smaller base, that screw would be really close to the center, but if you needed a larger base, it can keep expanding like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to, right now for this purpose, we're going to eyeball where center is. Tighten it down enough where we have a little bit of a play. And then take these fins and drop them in. They only go in one way, so you can't really screw that up, which is nice. And then you can slide them around until you see where another screw hole is. And you can drop the next screw in. And you can continue that with the other two, because you're always going to have 4 holes. So you want to be supported around the entire side. So you can continue to drop these pins in. Slide them until you have the screw holes and drop them in and secure the entire base. Now we can take it, kind of do our final eyeball of where center is, and tighten it all down. So now we have the plate secured to it. But the next part is taking the clear acrylic top. Again, this can only go one way, which is great. It only has one way to align it. So you have these little screw holes on each side with the mirrored screw holes there. Line that up, and take the provided screws and drop them in. One on each end. So the other nice thing is that with these trim routers, they don't have handles built into the bases. The Bosch does. They were removed here just for example purposes. But for these trim routers, they don't have handles to begin with. This Festool does, albeit it's a little awkward, but it does have two handles. So these would probably get in the way. Nice thing is that you don't really need them at all. So if you take the acrylic plate off and just have an Allen key, these handles come right off. And this whole thing can just slide right on there without them, and they're out of the way completely. So you can still get all the advantages of the faceplate, with your handles of the router that you have. So especially with the larger routers, they already have the handles. For the trim ones, the huge advantage. Okay, the last operation, which is really convenient to have, is when you're cutting joinery with the router. So especially when you're doing mortise and tenon joinery. So say you have an edge here and you want to cut a mortise in here with this bit. Centering that is definitely a pain. What's nice is that these are the last two pieces of this system, which are essentially self-centering jigs. So if you had a jig that has these with a pencil in the middle where you're marking lines, this is the same concept except with the bit. So in the base, you have 3 holes. Now 2 of these right now are used with the screws of the acrylic base, but those could be taken out if that is the thickness that you need to use, and put these in there instead. For now, for this is a pretty thin piece of wood, so we could pretty much use these and put them into the base plate just like this. Threaded right. This is where it's really nice. So if we were going to be routing this and we wanted that mortise to be dead center in this piece of wood, when we're approaching this wood, we could then pretty much tilt it to the side until it catches on both sides. So if you want to pick up one of these universal router bases, you can go to HValleyTools.com, or you can give us a call if you have any questions, and it's available now at a really affordable price.